Okay, so today we will continue with the pages for London, uh, but I've added some more images for today, and I want to show you how to make uh, a different kind of graphic illustration with these. So this is again one of those things that you can make very illustrative, not very realistic, and there are many different styles with which you can make your illustrations in a journal. They don't all, I mean, every artist has their own way of interpreting buildings, say, or street scenes, landscapes. So the reason why I want to show you different styles is because there will be something in that which will appeal to you, something that you will be able to do a lot easier. And if you have more than one way of making your journal, that way at least you will land up doing more stuff. If you are if you get stuck with something like when we are making buildings, we think that we need to make them very specific. The all the proportions need to be absolutely accurate, and that can stump you. So last week when we did this pub, the Red Lion, we we divided spaces. We made sure that our proportions were very accurate, and then we made all the details. So today I want to do it slightly differently. We won't focus so much on the accurate proportions as much as just creating that landmark, which in this case is going to be the just the top part of Big Ben. So this is also something that I prefer to do when your monuments are just too big and you are not going to be able to fit all of it in, but you still want to capture something or the other and take it back with you. So we will convert this into something that resembles maybe a postcard size illustration in that proportion, but we will do it in the book in just half the page, and then the rest of the page we will make this Tudor rose under which we will do lettering. Now, if time permits, we will go back to the first page where we still have to do that telephone booth which Siley you finished. So you can sit and watch, or you can do some other writing. And today we have Asmita in class, who is in fact going to London this weekend. So she will probably see everything. She'll probably have all the illustrated journal ready before she even goes. This hopefully this will give you one like a good primer. So when you are illustrating there, everything will come very easy. All right, let's look at the images. So when we see this, the first thing that we notice is that there is a lot of detail in the building. And I have sent two pictures because in the first one we see all the detail. In the second one we see the remaining part of the spire. So we want the complete image, but we also want to see a little bit of the details up front. I deliberately did not choose a picture of Big Ben which is on its side so that you might see two sides, because in that perspective you just get so lost and all these crooked lines make it um, it's very stressful. So just draw the front of these buildings. They're very pretty, like we did the pub. The front is made and it looks very pretty and the work is done. Then we will do this Tudor rose, and it's got a beautiful history. For those of you who might know a little bit, this was a rose that was, I guess, designed for when the two families that fought the 100-Year War decided, now bus, we've killed off everyone. It was, I think, a kind of Mahabharat, and there was nobody left. So they said, okay, forget it, let's just marry whoever is left and then just call it quits. And the two families were the Lancasters, and I think there was somebody of York. And the red rose, was the flower emblem for the Lancasters, and the white one was for the family from York. And then they just built this very lovely graphic, which has remained the emblem for England, like almost like their national symbol since then. All right, so how are we going to do this? We will mark the A5 division on the paper, but we are not going to fold it this time. So just pinch the paper at the top and bottom so you get an idea of where that half mark would be. And this is only so that you know how to prepare your the borders of your illustration. You don't want it to become too wide. Normal postcard size is about 4 by 6 in 4 inches by 6 inches in dimension. So that fits in about this scale. So if you make an illustration about this size, reduce it and reproduce it, it can fit in a 4 by 6 dimension. So when we are making this big pen today, I want you to use either a pen or a dark pencil directly. And we are not going to worry if our lines are a little crooked. Once you draw a line, it is drawn. Our proportions might be all over the place, but that's going to make our illustration look more casual. All you need to decide is where and how large you want to make the illustration, and for that we will see what the overall proportions of this tower are. I think if we can divide this part into two, like you have one square surrounded by a rectangle shape, and if we look at this picture, you see that above that it is about twice as tall. So we have a 3 by 1 rectangle area earmarked for the entire tower, but that may change a little bit as we make this illustration. Okay, so I want you to just follow me, and I'm going to do it the way I do this part as like I do in the kids class. So we'll go line by line, literally. Just follow me. You can look at the reference image also, but I'm not going to give you any measurement for proportions. Now let's look at this area as the 3 by 3, and we also will draw a little bit of the bottom of the tower because it should look like a tower, not just the top. So in the A5 space, identify the center and make a very light horizontal line, a vertical line, and literally just visually measuring, divide this into 3 squares. I don't know if you can see this, it's very light, but it's just so much. And I'm just checking that the spacing from either side is more or less the same. So I have about 2.5 fingers from this side. My tower has come a little to the left. I can easily just shift that to the right a little bit. So we have squares, 1 on top, 2 in the middle, 3 at the bottom with some extra space below that. So in square number 3, right in the center and pretty large with very small slivers left on the side, I am making a square. And I'm using a pencil, but I'm making the lines very dark. This is not even a proper square. Never mind. Inside that, I'm going to make the clock face. Then I'm going to make a frame around the square. So essentially what I'm doing is I am distilling the information from the photograph. So right next to the square, I am making a rectangle, a smaller rectangle next to that, okay. Now below the main square, I'm drawing, there are a few arch-like designs. They're very complicated. So I'm just drawing two lines at the bottom. And there's 6 divisions here. So I will mark a center below the circle. And now I have to divide this space into 2.5. So I'm lightly drawing lines in such a way that I can make 3 lines on this side, 3 lines on that side, but the space between that should be equal. Now in case you make 7, it doesn't matter. Make double lines in all these places. Then extend the sides further, bring them down. Oh, I forgot this fellow. Now connect the bottoms but from a little higher. So you don't make one straight line going down. So this is where even by making very crude lines, we will still show detail. So the line is slightly higher than these pillar-like things we have drawn. And then from a little inside, we will draw the base. Now we'll come back to this after we have finished the top. Now these same lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, these same lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, continue on top of the clock face as well. There's first a horizontal line in which there's a design we are ignoring. Above that, we will make one more section in which right above these points, you will mark a few dots. So you will get 6 dots on top. And here we will make, just above those dots, we will make some triangles. And join the bases of the triangles with a line. So there's a very lovely design here. You have these diamond shaped embellishments underneath those triangles. To the side, there seems to be almost like a balcony. I have no idea what the size of all this is. It just looks like a massive size. I have seen people about this size hanging from those the clock hands. So I wouldn't be surprised if these are indeed balconies. Now, literally between these triangle shapes, we will draw long inverted U shapes, leaving some space in between them. There has to be some pillar space. And a line on top. with the wall coming to the side but a little inside from the edge of the balcony. One side my balcony has gone and become longer also, but I'm not really too bothered. Is everyone with me? Okay. So above this now we are going to make the roof. So part of the roof spreads outward. Then you have part of the roof that goes straight up. And then you have a fairly large rooftop which comes at probably the distance, the line between the first and the second square. Now look at the angle made over here. Don't make it too steep or too shallow. So when you are facing these roof angles and all, just put your pencil down and see what line or at what point the angle matches the angle you see in the reference image. And there's a slight curve to that. And above that, again, slightly fatter rectangle which comes outside the line. Now above this, again, we have a solid rectangle with some more things on top, some more embellishments, which we are just going to mark with rectangles. There's some kind of decoration on top of these, which I'm just making some scallop-like shapes. And then just mark the center, and we're going to finish off this roof. But the roof doesn't end in a tip, it's an end slightly wider because there seems to be something on top. Now that thing we can't see even in the photograph, and for sure you're not going to see what's happening in real life over there. So just make some scribble on top and finish it off like that. Make a slight U shape at the bottom over there, and the ends of the U shape will give you the tower. Now if your lines are crooked, let that be, because that's the whole essence of this illustration style. Now in this rectangle, again we have 5 arches. And on this roof we have 7 windows. Now these windows are very strategically placed. So look at whenever you see features in buildings like these, you will see that there is some connection to earlier stuff we've done. Like these arches were made based on this design. There are 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces in between these columns. And above this, when our roof has become narrow, it has enough space for only 5. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the windows over here are like first tiny rectangles above the arches on the first, third, fifth and seventh arch. And then we draw the ones in between. And then this same thing comes up here. So the center and center of the roof windows matches. And because we don't have too much space, we just distribute the windows on the side. And you can in fact draw just triangular windows above that because there's hardly any space. Now, right now this just looks like a fairy tale tower, but we have a few spires from this side which are quite iconic of Big Ben. Again, just a scribble and a tower, and a couple of more embellishments from this side. Now, along the edges, there is some kind of decoration which also involves something that looks like an onion shaped bulb on top here, which is connected to a very decorative stick like thing on the side. So we're not going to really make the decorations, but we will make these clasps at the right place through which that piece will go through. Maybe just end here. And then a certain distance away, we will make a line below the main square that we had made and repeat these arches. This time you can make inverted V shapes underneath the spaces between these columns and just pull them down. So when we make these monuments, we shouldn't really be thinking about, will anyone recognize this as Big Ben, or does this look like the monument? I think we can add one more little bit of thickness from the side. I can, because we are going to add some lettering around it, and if there's any need for design, we're going to just make some scribbly kind of design. So these these roofs on the tower are looking quite blank. So just make vertical lines running through at equal distance. And that will fill up and bring the texture close to how it's supposed to be. And make your lines very strong. Now on the sides there is some kind of design. So make 2 lines running through the center like this. That's usually enough. Make a few lines just standing like fences without connecting in this balcony. And inside these arches we can make a shape like this. It's like again an inverted V shape but with curved lines. And this part can actually be darkened with your pencils. Same thing with the windows on top. Make tiny triangle shaped roofs on top of these windows and color the windows dark black. And again above this, you can draw a few lines around these windows. There are some holes there, but you can basically just color those arches dark black. Now all this is fine, but let's address the main structure, which is the clock face. There are far too many details in the clock face, but we'll go from outside to in. Make one more circle concentric inside, which is very close to the first one, and then make two concentric circles, not too close but not too far also, because this is going to be all we will make for the clock face. And we won't bother making the Roman numerals and all, but you can make lines at the pertinent points, which is all these. First make 12 and 6, 9 and 3, and then make 2 lines in between the sections. So that's in the second ring. The outer ring is just going to be blank. The inner ring right now is blank. And I wouldn't want to put numbers there as yet, because sometimes in making those numbers everything starts becoming too complicated. So I'll wait till right the end. But we can make the hands of the clock. So the short hand is only in the inner circle. Long hand goes all the way to the outer circle. Always draw the center of these hands without any design, and then you can draw the design. So the two hands are crossing, and both of them have something like a triangle shape and maybe a teardrop shape. The small hand has a teardrop shape on both ends, and the long hand just seems to have an arrow. Now these corners are looking very blank, so we can make some design in the corners. Just mark these out with a corner. And just to make this stand out, we can make a very dark border around the clock face also. Depending upon how dark you have, how big you have made the square, just darken the first square that we had made. And that's it. We are just going to keep it like this. Remove all your construction lines. If there are some lines that are going through, but you have drawn a lot of things around it, it's okay if you don't erase those also. They'll just become part of the illustration. So to make this a proper postcard, it would be nice to put some kind of border. But before we put the border, we should also put some text. So when it comes to text, the text should also be considered like part of the illustration. You shouldn't just make such a lovely illustration then just write London like that or Big Ben like that. So think of this, we have maybe we have a nice backdrop. You can write London right behind this, and of course it's going to look like London. But we can also write it like this, but sideways. I'm not a big fan of stacking letters one on top of the other. So give it a thought. Don't just crash letters onto your illustration. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the words Big Ben on either side of the tower. And before I write the letters, I'm also going to consider where my frame is going to come so that my letters don't become so large. I'm drawing a frame just skimming the bottom of the monument. This is just a rough frame, it's not in fair yet. So once I have got an idea of where I'm going to draw this, making sure that I'm leaving even spaces from all sides. Now I know how much space I have for the letters. And I'm thinking I'm going to write Big Ben here. And on the side, we have to change the lettering, and we will do, last month we had made this open shaded lettering, so we can use that. So before you do anything, just look through and see that you are satisfied. If you're not, if something is not working out, try out a few options and then choose the one that you like best. Just give me 1 second. Alright, so I'm going to do a little refresher on this open shaded lettering in the back here. So open shaded letters are letters which you artificially make thick. So while you write with a tip that is just a monoline tip, which means that it does not have a fat end and it does not flex, so it does not give you a thick and thin line. So if our letters are written like this, L-O-N, just in print form. And if we want to convert this into an open shaded style, we can easily add a few embellishments like this, and wherever the line seems to go down by the logic of the letter form, you will make it slightly thicker. So you can make it as simple as this, and if you want, you can just join these letters as well. Now if you do know how to write cursive, and if this is how your cursive is written, make the letters wide enough and far enough to accommodate some thickness. But all the letters should be the same distance apart. So here the letter becomes thick on the left. On the O, on the N, it's on the downstroke again. Not this. Okay, will everybody be able to do this? If you're not able to do this, you can just make it like Big Ben, which I'm going to write in big bold letters. But make the letters for London slightly thinner, and even that should work. Okay? Alright. Now, seeing that everything is in pencil and you don't want your letters to be erased afterwards, just reduce the lines. At least I should reduce them because there's far too many. And as far as possible, when you're using a base pencil line, you should just keep a few markers so you know where your lines are going to go. Now to write the block letters, just write the words Big Ben in regular letter form, very light, but far away. Write all the letters in one shot. Don't write one letter, then block it and then make another letter, because your sizes will change. And then all you do is make an outline, and I'd like to say an inline also. And simplify letters like G. If you're in the habit of writing a G like this, if this is how you normally write G, this is too many lines. But if you just make it like this and up, that is a G. It will not be confused as a C. Now, because our illustration itself is also so casual, the lettering must also be less than too perfect. So, a few crooked lines will in fact look better. So, this is a perfect time for us to try a style of lettering that is not really very, doesn't really follow too many of our traditional lettering styles. And if you like it the way it is without any thicknesses, don't add any thickness. And once all of this is done, then we can make a border. And this border, I will make it like this. I'm just making the horizontal lines first, a little away from the corner. Then I will make the vertical lines, which will all wobble, but I'm at least trying to keep them going in the same direction. And then on the corners, you can join this by curving a little bit. So it does not look like a very boring square. So now when you're painting it, we can paint all of Big Ben in one color, which can be a yellow ochre. These roofs can be made in maybe a cobalt blue or something, and the outside space can be made in blue, with London made in a cobalt blue and Big Ben written maybe in red or even black. So the painting becomes very quick. Okay, is everyone with me? Can I start painting? So this illustration you could also paint with or color it up with color pencils or pastels also. It would look very nice. And once your pencil line goes over the no, what am I saying? Once your watercolor goes over the pencil line, that pencil line kind of just gets sealed, so it won't come and rub off on your hands. And this can also look like a nice finished illustration. Plus the grayish tone of the graphite is such a lovely effect also. It's not a dark black line like your micron tip. It looks a little lighter, makes the pictures look a little lighter also. Okay, I think that's it. And these rectangles also we can, just around the clock face also we can make in yellow ochre. So normally I recommend that if you have a backdrop, you should paint the backdrop first. But in this case, it won't matter whether we paint the backdrop first or we paint the building first, simply because they're both very light colors. Now while this is drying, we can move on to the Tudor rose. So let me know when you are done, then I can move forward. Okay, I've got a thumbs up from Saili, Asmita. All done. Okay, great. Right, now the Tudor rose should be very easy because after drawing Big Ben, this is like the easiest thing you can do. Think about the circle you need, and you will see that the proportion of the roses is also a part of the proportion of the circles. This part I want to show you because the sooner you start seeing internal proportions in the objects that we are drawing, the easier it starts becoming for you to see any object in its truthful form. So here's what I mean. If I were to draw a line from the diameter of this circle. Look at these distances. Uh, so the center of the circle is somewhere here. This is the radius of the circle in between. The circle that holds the white rose is just a little more than the central radius. The red rose is just a little more. And then the distance from the end of the red rose to the outer circle is maybe half of that, half of the last part, just so much. So very often when your illustrations don't look like the reference images, it's only a matter of not getting the proportions right. So it really helps to look at the proportion and see how each of those elements is related to other elements in the picture. So in this case now we want to make this illustration like a graphic which you are going to write information for. So it makes a very nice medallion. It could also be a lovely sticker. So if you have loose sheets of paper, you can just make a sticker which you can then put anywhere you want. And the style is going to be the same as this. So we're not going to make it too precise, too perfect, but yet it's not going to be so way off that your rose, Tudor rose, lands up looking like an Amsterdam tulip. So start off with just the center circle. This center circle will then expand to about 3 times its size to make the outer circle. So think cleverly and also position your center circle according to where you want the outer circle to end. We are drawing it from the inside out. So I'm going to draw this no bigger than my, I guess, thumb. Okay, so it's like about the size of the nail of my thumb. Then beyond that, I'm just going to measure out another circle with just a dotted line. And then another circle, slightly more than this. Again, just a dotted line. These dotted lines are perfectly fine. It just gives you some idea of where you want to take your petals. Now forget the details of the petals. What you need to see is where the petals join. So we will draw a line like that at 12 o'clock. So it's like a V-shaped line. Then at 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 7 and 5. So you don't have to worry about how the petals are going to be distributed. And then you're just going to join these with a graceful curve. Hopefully all our petals are equal in size, and if they're not, don't worry. Then we have a line from the edge. In some places this line is from the edge, in some places it's from the inside. So look at how I'm doing it here. On the bottom left petal you will see a line that comes down and goes back up outside. So this shows you that the petal is folding inward. Above that, a line comes from the right side of the petal and does the same thing, folds in a bulb outward, downward towards the center. Next to that, it comes all the way. So this is a very old style of showing folds in a petal. And then you have these lines coming from the center. Now, do not draw them from one edge to the other. Draw the center line first. This little fold thing in the center. And then I would suggest distribute it on either side. Now this Tudor rose is not the only design of the Tudor rose right now, the one that we have right now. Sorry, this is one interpretation. As long as your Tudor rose looks beautiful, it does not have to have the same number of lines or anything. That is not a significant part. Now from the center of each petal, with giving a little bit of distance because we want to make a thick black edge to all of the petals, we will draw the same shape over again. This time the petal shape goes outward, then flattens, and then comes towards the center but not in the exact center. And if this is going to fox you, then just draw the two lines beforehand and then join them. Then we have the same line running on the inside. This I think now you will be able to see and make. And if you're not looking at the reference images, just make them like me. And then on the edges we will draw these zigzag rose petals with a line running through the center. 3 pointed rose petals. Again, for this, if you are not sure, make a V shape a little away all over, and then from there make 2 V shapes on either side and the line running through the center. Now we have to draw that circle around, which again, you don't have to draw it, because I can already see that my circle is not going to be a circle and this can get really tricky. So forget it, just keep it like that, don't make the circle around. Because after making this, if your circle does not look good, then you will feel disappointed. Okay, so now let's just make a lot of tiny circles in the center of the rose to complete that texture. And to again make this a little nice and bulky, all the empty spaces that you have between those circles, just fill that up. Now because we are doing this in pencil, the next part, which is making these thick borders around each flower, like the white flower and the red flower, that can also be done in pencil. So like we used a thick pen last week for the graphic of the London pub, this one we can just use a thick pencil line. If you want, you can make a double line and then color it up, and it goes around all the petals, the white petals, then all around the red petals, and fairly thick where the petals join. And this is done only because the design that we have made seems to be the design used in maybe a stained glass window, which will have very thick joinery between colors. So we want to mimic that effect. And then also around the leaves. So in Mabeshwar Club, there's a place called Frere Hall, which is like the activity hall. And that building has got very small, or even the office building has got very small stained glass windows in the windows of their corridors. I'm going to try and look for those pictures. And those, some of them have got this Tudor rose. That's it. So rose done, building done. Now we just need to finish the coloring. So keep alternating between one and the other. Don't bother coloring the white petals. Make a yellow ochre or a gamboge in the center. Scarlet for the red petals, and a mix of sap green with yellow ochre for the leaves. I'm going to give you these colors again, so don't bother about remembering them. I'm first going to make a blue colored sky around Big Ben. So blue is not compulsory. If you feel, now that we have a red and yellow and white design on the left, even on this you can easily go with a Union Jack or something and make that behind. But I'm just going to go with blue, and I'm using a cerulean blue wash. So when you make these washes, just make sure that you have taken adequate paint in your palette. If you run out of paint, then sometimes the washes can look patchy. But at any rate, whenever you are painting a large area, always make it a policy that you firstly load the brush before it becomes empty, then always dip in the water, take a little bit of paint, replenish your palette, and then load the brush again. So every 3 or 4 strokes you can do that. Now we have these two sections on the left and the right, so you don't have to paint both together. Start with this on one side. I'm going to be painting over the letters as well, and hold the book at a slight angle. You know what, we can actually go into the roof also, because that's going to be a dark blue. And see this wet edge at the bottom? As long as this edge is wet, your paint will run very smoothly. If you feel that the paint is drying at the edge, or you don't have enough liquid on the edge, that means your brush needs loading. Use a big fat brush for this. Anything above 10 or 12 is good. And just keep staining the paper. If you feel that you've left a patch somewhere, don't go and repair it. Don't worry about that patch. It won't look bad, but if you try to repair it when your paint is still wet, you will end up making an odd stroke there which will make it patchy. And as you come towards the bottom, you can reduce the amount of paint you are loading your brush with, and perhaps might be able to just spread whatever paint you already have on the paper so that you're not left with any excess. And then keep it flat so that everything just blends together. So this is the reason why I do 2 drawings at a time, because you don't have to tell yourself, wait, let this dry. You already have something else to paint. For the center of the rose, I'm using gamboge, not yellow ochre, because already the gray of the dots has made that area pretty dull. And because there's a gap between that and the red petals, I'm just directly going in, painting the petals. So if you find any more graphics like these, like the flower designs, these are wonderful to practice. They are great to understand proportion. No matter how bad you make it, like in my case, if you notice from here, my Tudor rose looks like it's a circle, but from the side, it's clearly not. You get to make stuff that will eventually look good no matter how imperfect it is. And in making that, you get to study shape and size and practice these things, which otherwise, where are you going to practice? Now I can go back to Big Ben. For the leaves on the Tudor rose, I'm using sap green with just a little bit of yellow ochre because I don't like that brightness of the sap green. But you can use sap green also. Now, when you want to make the lettering, if you feel that painting is really not going to be that good, you can easily switch to markers or color pencils. I'm going to use color pencils here.
I inked the letters with an ink pen, so I used a color pencil for the background.
Okay, nice. My color pencils are not working on this. So I'll have to use other pencils. Okay, for the roofs, I am using cobalt blue. So when you're painting this, it'll seem like the all the detail has been hidden, but you should be able to see that detail emerge afterwards. I think I'll just paint the big one. It's much quicker. Now, a few things in the Big Ben picture also you can add, like a little bit of just a light cobalt blue in some of these crevices. You can also make it burnt umber actually, forget cobalt blue. Take a little bit of burnt umber, not too dark, and put it in these crevices because we need for the certain parts of the building to stand out. And in some cases, it is the shadows that give the building its very distinct nature, recognizability. So, shadows usually can be painted on the whole area or just one side like that. Then, where else can we have shadows? These sections, which you've already made dark, maybe this part on the side. Now it looks like Big Ben. Without these things, it wasn't really looking like Big Ben. And even in a picture like that, if you land up making shadows, it gives you maybe a different sense of the object also, like a little on the right side of the watch face. This is cobalt blue. Then this inverted V shape underneath these arches that we've not really made. Then where else? Just a few lines like that. But this has to be really light, not too dark. And if you're not confident, then just forget it. Okay, now to title this page also. Now this has become like one postcard. This can also become a postcard, or you can make an info graphic page over here. So we need to write the name. That will be the Tudor Rose. And then below that, you can create a column which is about the width of the rose, and maybe in a box shape, which ends, suppose you are not going to make this into a postcard, this can end in a box like this, in which you will draw lines which are fairly close to each other and mention something about the Tudor rose. And when you're writing Tudor Rose as well, this is how we do it. We mark the space we're going to write it at. These words have different numbered letters. So the word Tudor has got 5, of which D comes in the center. T and R are on the two sides. And then you have U and an O in the middle. So this is one of the best ways to make sure that your lettering is even and center aligned. Now in this case, the rose is on two sides. So I'm going to make 4 boxes, 2 boxes on the right and 2 boxes on the left of the center. And in the center of that, I'm going to write the word rose. Now this is looking too close, so maybe I can spread this out even more. Now if you want to give this a little bit of a touch of maybe some kind of ancient lettering style, you can add a few flourishes like that. Your T will be in this form. U can be in this form. D, I guess D can be again a base like that. So this is a fake old-timey font. And very often lettering artists will make a font just so that it looks appropriate in that place. The U also can be made like that. And the word rose can just be written plain. So this part I will write in pen so that you at least get to see how the letters look. They're all generally based on the same kind of form. So whatever form you use for the O, that form is replicated in the other letters. And this is a completely made up font anyway. So I have to just make it look convincing enough. We have done some very interesting lettering styles last month, and those videos are up on YouTube, so please check those out if you want to know more about lettering. So wherever the lines are thin in whatever direction, everywhere the line is going in that particular direction, it must be just that thin. And places where it is becoming fat, it should become the same fat in the same place. But if you do come across some good fonts, please note them down, practice them, bank them. Okay, so that's it. I'm going to show you one Tudor rose that I made for something else. So this is my rabbit hole journal, and somewhere in this I have a Tudor rose. I found out about what that is. I was so fascinated. I made a little page. Yes. So this is also something that I encourage everyone to do. If you learn something new, just get a small A6 size book in which you can draw a picture and write something about it, and also maybe a date and where you heard it. So this book has just got enough information for me to remember what I heard and where I heard it, usually in some random podcast or a video. And all this is just stuff that I find interesting. I'm not making it for anybody but just for myself. So there's, depending upon what you are writing about, you will find many different ways to interpret it. Okay, how's it going?